what was the pitch like? If they weren't already feeling that way, was there like a pitch you had to make for putting more emphasis on gaming?
Gaming is constantly jumping over itself and not by little jumps. You can buy yourself to be one of the best gamers. Your pockets can give you that that advantage. And that's why as a technology solution provider and a resource to all of our partners out there, we want to be able to constantly refresh them and keep them armed with the knowledge of, hey, what is coming next?
Welcome into the Independent Thinking Podcast. This is your host, Rob Stott. This is a fun one for a number of reasons. One, because the gaming industry is something I've followed. I feel like my whole life as a avid fan from a consumer perspective to years in the B2B consumer electronics space as well. So being able to have D&H and Chad Bowser, the vendor partner manager over there at D&H, who also he spent time in the gaming category for D&H to help build that category and continues even in his new role to serve as in sort of a consultative role for their gaming initiative. To have him on to dive into this, it was a lot of fun. Just a real natural conversation. Two gaming nerds, if you will. Sorry, Chad, you're not here to defend that. I think you might have even referenced yourself, so I'll consider it okay to call you a gaming nerd in this intro. But to have us get together and be able to dive into this space and sort of the opportunities that exist, a lot of fun. And the crux for it all goes back to an article that we came across in a trade publication that posed the question: does gaming need to be part of a custom integrator's pitch? And really, that could be extended to a retailer's pitch, and especially if you're in the consumer electronics space. Gaming, a category that often might scare people away because of perceived low margins of the consoles themselves and software and how that works, and the constant rotation of software, things like that. But plenty of other areas to dive into with gaming. And a data point that was shared by AARP of all organizations that you think about the number of people 50 and over that game every day. We'll dive into that stat in the podcast, but not what you're expecting, I imagine, right off the top of your head. So took the opportunity to talk about the space with Chad, see what D&H is doing in the gaming category, and share some tips and tricks for those that might want to consider jumping into this space with massive potential for your business. So real fun conversation. Let's dive into it. This is Chad Bowser of D&H here on the Independent Thinking Podcast. We are back on the Independent Thinking Podcast and joined this week by our friends out in D&H, which I did another podcast with the folks from NKBA, and they're in Bethlehem, PA. I'm sitting here in Philly. You guys are out in Hershey, so not too far from the area where I'm sitting here, Hershey Harrisburg area. I'm out here in Philly, so nice to get these southeastern-ish PA folks on the podcast. Mr. Chad Bowser joining us today from D&H, vendor business manager. And if you're reading the headlines, we're going to be diving into gaming. So a gaming consultant there at D&H as well, a guy who spent plenty of time in their gaming world and helping out with that initiative, and joining us today to talk a little bit about that. So Chad, appreciate you jumping on and having the availability.
Hey, no problem. I'm pretty excited about this, and I thank you for reaching out to us. Yes, we are from the sweetest place on earth, and we work for some of the sweetest bosses we can have them too.
Oh no, those Schwabs are they're a good bunch. I've been able to interact with them, and I know they are a powerful duo there, doing some really awesome things with you guys. So, I want to start before we even dive into the meat of this thing. Like, obviously we're going to be talking about gaming. It has to be. We're just going to get the elephant in the room out of the way. I mean, last name Bowser. I'm sitting here in the Nintendo shirt. I did it purposefully, of course. So tell me, was this a career path destined for you from day one?
It was manifest destiny, I guess. Higher powers were at work somewhere. Call it what you will, but yeah, I guess I was born into this. It started in 72 when I was born, but there were many footsteps along this journey, and just having the last name sealed the deal. I don't know, maybe that's why they gave me the job. Because hey, Bowser, isn't that gaming related? I would
Right.
hope it had something to do with my knowledge and skills I bring. But we'll default to my last name. I
Of
shared.
course.
I'm not alone in this though. There's
Yeah.
another Bowser, not just the guy in Nintendo, but there is a there's a Bowser that runs all of Nintendo of America, and we
Yep.
actually met each other. We called ourselves. He was Bowser, and I was Bowser Junior. So
It's incredible. And people that know the games know that Bowser's the villain. So I hope you guys didn't lean into that side, or maybe you did. I don't know. Was that the
I
thing?
don't I don't know, but Jack Black has made my life a little bit worse in the last couple of years. The whole
So
meanness.
no, that's great. That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you having a little bit of fun there, and you shared a little bit of it. But tell us for those listening, a little bit about yourself and your background and path to D&H.
So I've been at D&H going on 12 years now, and it feels like a blink of an eye, but it's also been a great journey. I came on recruited into D&H. I originally was at Best Buy, and my last job at Best Buy was I was the coordinator for gaming in the Philadelphia district, working together to grow that initiative. But a great opportunity came across to work for D&H. I talked to people, and the people at Best Buy spoke very highly of the company. I was brought in for a short period of time. I did a stint as the HP business development manager. The opportunity popped up about doing gaming for D&H, and I just jumped both feet in, and it has been going 9, 10 years doing gaming, growing gaming, watching it evolve. That the cool thing about gaming is the technology evolves faster than any other technology out there. It's always doubling year over year, and in 9 years, when you start and you think where we're at today, it's mind blowing.
Yeah, I mean, a lot has changed, and it's kind of interesting too. And it leads right into what I was going to ask next. And um, there's so many elements to the gaming industry, right? So like, there's console gaming with, people think of the PlayStations and Xboxes and Switches and Nintendo. And of course there's the PC side of things, and very powerful systems that can be built and customized. And I mean, you see the gaming leagues and how they've popped up around the world. And then down to, the devices in our pockets and the smartphone gaming. So there's like, how can you simply define this category in any way, or what would you, if someone asked you to define gaming, how would you do it?
Entertainment. It's how we pass our time.
Yeah.
There was a really good phrase is that societies are judged by how they entertain themselves. Well, our society entertains ourselves by gaming in all different fashions and forms. It's how we get by. It's how we release stress. It's how we connect and entertain. It's how we hold on to our former glories of the days of high school, when we were all great athletes in our minds, and we try and replicate that, or great athletes, race car drivers, whatever. It's how we let go of what our day brings and stay connected physically and digitally.
No, I love that. And I kind of taken that and, from a slightly different perspective, that for the retailer listening, yeah, there's a lot more to it, right? There's we talk again about the consoles and the software and the smartphones themselves too. But like when you think about the gaming category, obviously it's a lot broader than just that. So talk about some of the things that um I know you mentioned the being involved in kind of the growth of the initiative at D&H. And I think I saw in a previous life, having attended some of your shows out there at the Hershey Convention Center, and that gaming, the esports pavilion that popped up and stuff like that, right? I know you're the guy behind it. So got to see that kind of come to life. What were, it made clear that gaming is about more than those systems and the software. So talk about some of the other aspects of, what you might see on a retail floor that constitutes gaming.
So, gaming, and it's funny you say retail. Gaming is actually, it can split. It has evolved. It's also, we call it consumer and commercial. And when you say gaming, that usually infers consumer. That is an individual in their house, playing games, maybe not competitively. And then there's what has become esports.
Yeah.
And esports is competitive gaming. It is colleges, it is teams, It is, entities playing for big money, branded teams, branding. That's where the commercial and all the branding that comes in. So there's two aspects to it. But the retailer, they customize and they tailor to the individual, the gamer, that may one day, if they're young, want to become that esports person. Hopes and dreams that we all have, aspirations. And then commercially, there's partners out there that build whole studios. We D&H has actually worked with a partner in downtown Harrisburg to build an esports lab. A great group of guys called Harrisburg Storm. Not long after we helped them build that, they turned around and won the esports collegiate championship. They were on ESPN and everything. It
Man.
was it was really cool. Unfortunately, because ESPN said, "Hey, you can't have any logos on there," so they had to take off the D&H brand. But it was really cool to see those kids go out there, and when we're like, "Hey, we were part of that," and there's a lot of people that are part of that, and also along with gaming, you nailed it. There's it's called an experience. Gaming is an experience. It doesn't just stop with the controller or the mouse in your hand. There is the ambiance around, the lighting, the you go into your gaming room. I am a nerd by trade and a nerd by life, and I was influenced by the Tron movie, and I always wanted to cross over to the grid. I want to go into a room where I have the Tron experience, lights come on and everything, and that's part of the gaming ambiance. And then there's the next step is you game and then you stream your game and you go online and you show people and you learn from the community, or you just have an opinion. Gamers are opinionated, and everyone wants to put their opinion out there, and that's part of it. Twitch streaming, YouTube, there's all different things that a lot of people do.
Yeah, and I mean, needless to say, the opportunities for the retailer in this extend beyond the console and the controller. There's you mentioned the lighting and the ambiance around. I think I'm sitting here. If you're watching the video, very obviously you got a background set up and the headphones and everything involved. There's microphones for streaming. I've got LED strip lighting around the desk here. I'm trying to show off a little bit, but it's hard with the windows because it's not nighttime, so you can't really see it. But I see it. It's setting up that environment for you, the desk chairs, the standing desks, like all the gaming desks that exist out there. And
The
so just,
monitors,
yeah,
the speakers.
yep,
Not everyone wants to put a headphone on. The speaker quality. It's a full experience that you have to put yourself. The chair you sit on, I'm sitting on a very nice gaming chair. You can't
yep,
see it, but it's not it's not a console and a controller anymore. It's not a Sega. We'll say
yeah.
Sega.
It's that full immersive experience. And you mentioned the role you kind of played in growing gaming at D&H, and I know it's since you've been there a major emphasis for the company. So why and maybe it might be cool too to hear your perspective, because I'm sure you definitely did play a big role in it. The importance that's been placed on the category. Why is there such a great importance, and what was the pitch like? If they weren't already feeling that way, was there like a pitch you had to make for putting more emphasis on gaming?
So I read that it goes in along with that article I read from AARP about actually realizing how much bigger it is,
Yeah.
and how much it has become a part of our DNA. And gaming has become a part of DNA. D&H has an acronym where BFGs, built for growth. Well, built for gaming too.
Yeah.
See how it works a lot of ways. That BFG works really well. But we saw it, and I was looking at these numbers, and as I said in the beginning, gaming is constantly jumping over itself, and not by little jumps, huge leaps. Partners like NVIDIA and AMD are constantly bringing out new and more powerful graphics cards and products. Intel is constantly ramping up their processors to be able to game. Intel is doing their own graphics cards right now. It is always trying to one up each other, and the consumer wants the best. They want to keep up. They want to be. That's the really cool thing is with gaming, you can buy yourself to be one of the best gamers. Your pockets can give you that that advantage, and that's why, as a technology solution provider and a resource to all of our partners out there, we want to be able to constantly refresh them and keep them armed with the knowledge of, hey, what is coming next? look at artificial intelligence and
Mm.
the role that's going to play in gaming and our everyday lives. So we looked at it and we said, I said, hey, this is big. We took it, separated it, we put it over here. We started watching it, and it just started growing. And our biggest growth came from PC gaming.
Yeah.
We are one of the biggest PC gaming provider in North America. Um, we work with all the retailers. We work with all the OEM partners. We work with partners like MSI and Asus, all HP. All their brands are carried. We have very fancy high-end desktop partners like CLX, custom
Yep.
built, and all the display, Samsung, LG, Corsair. I mean, the list is immense. Of anyone that wants to go and visit D&H, we actually have a website. You click on and see all the different partners we had. And as we grew, we added more labor, more specialists. There's a team inside of D&H that love gaming, but know gaming too, beyond
Yeah.
me.
No, it's awesome. I mean, you know what's crazy is we haven't even talked about. You talk about the industry kind of leapfrogging itself regularly. We haven't even touched on virtual reality and like everything that can do in the future. And future. I mean, you look at the product that's available now, and you know, the ultimate immersive experience of having that headset and you know, being in the game and feeling like you're part of just a whole. We could have a whole nother podcast on that, but
I
um,
know a lot about that
yeah,
category too.
it's crazy. It's a crazy space, but and you referenced it, you know, that article about kind of dispelling some misconceptions that are out there about the gaming industry. I told you ahead of time, you know, we talked a couple days ago about this and just casually throwing out the question to some colleagues after seeing this AARP article about, you know, what percentage, it was kind of the main crux of even wanting to do this. The main, what's the percentage they, you know, I would ask them that they think of people 50 and over that game every day. And I, you know, noodle on that for a minute, watch them stir, think, well, is he trying to trick me? Like this sounds like a trick question, but I didn't get anyone that told me over 20%. Like, you know, 5 to 10, 10 to 15 were average ranges. That this article that you're referencing, 50% of people 50 and over that game every day. And I mean, I think that says a lot right there, right? Just off the top about how sort of widespread the gaming you know, gaming is as an industry, and how, you know, how popular it is across not just young generations but all generations.
It So I read that article and I had a what do they call it? A moment. I didn't have a midlife crisis, but I had an out of body experience as I read the article. And to the listeners out there, hey, I'm 50,
And
and
and I have to
and
be
I
clear that this was not an intended target at you. I just that has to be said.
but it triggered, and the article is 100% spot on. There's a generation, Gen X. For some reason, society and social media wants to skip over our generation. We talk about boomers and we talk about millennials, but Generation X is born 1965, 1980. Do you know what happened in the gaming world, in our world, in those time periods? Star Wars came out. You were a
Yeah.
teenager, some people, young child, Star Wars. My favorite movie, Tron. Do you know 1988 was the first time that Madden came out on the
Hmm.
Commodore 64?
Crazy.
That, all that stuff. The World Wide Web launched in 93. Sega, Nintendo, all this stuff came out. And Generation X and late boomers, we were in our young years, teenage years, and 20. And as I said, the technology, leapfrog, getting better, changing how we game. We went from console gaming to playing games like X-Wing versus TIE, to things like World of Warcraft, League of Legends, and then esports. And we got crushed into the pandemic, and all of a sudden this NASCAR event came up and people were doing that, and we were gaming more at home. And then one day I turned around and I'm 50, but I'm still gaming.
Yeah.
And but what has changed between me being a 19-year-old gamer and me being a 50-year-old gamer is the strength of my wallet and my buying power. I had to choose ramen noodles over the latest hit coming out. Now I don't have to do that. And I'll tell you, anyone in my age range, if they stood in line to buy their son or daughter that Nintendo Switch, they were inside also standing in line for themselves. Don't let them lie to you. If you were to go right now and you see the lines of people standing outside waiting for the NVIDIA graphics cards, see how old they are. I bet you there's a real high mix of people over 50 getting those graphics cards.
Right. And well, the funny thing is, you talk about, aside from, the professional esports gamers that are out there that have the support of, the sponsorship money and things like that to be able to afford those, the casual gamers, the that older generation that wants to keep up with the young generation that, is doing this and advancing their own, video gaming skill sets, they can afford those products to, like you said, afford themselves the opportunity to compete against those everyday gamers that are out there. So it's for sure. I mean, and I just think about you mentioned the sports games and things like that and how those have evolved and kind of allowing you to relive the past and things like that. Dive into Madden. What are we at? Madden, gosh, you said 88, so it's like 35 years old, right? So it's a 35-year-old game at this point. So just neat to see sort of the industry evolve the way it has, and knowing too, like if that's the number now, it's 50% now. You think about kids that, I mean, they've been essentially born into this world of having games at their fingertips and things like that. And as they become more affluent over time and the opportunities that exist to target them and build out these gaming rooms, it seems like it's only going to grow.
It's going to grow. It's as time passes, the number of gamers over 50 is going to go very quickly towards 90%. Once the millennials that we gave them all this gaming stuff, but we played alongside, it will it will be most of the people. And why? Well, also the other part is not only does it keep us in touch, it keeps us sharp. It keeps our minds going. It challenges us. You never want to let the old man or old woman in, and gaming keeps that at bay. I plan on gaming until I can't touch the keyboard or pick up the controller. I'll probably be 80 in gaming, and I won't be alone. I will have good company with me on this journey.
No, I love that. And I mean, I think the numbers right there should be enough for a retailer to realize like, oh, there is an opportunity here. But even, if that's not enough, what's kind of the pitch for them? How can they, if they're concerned maybe about, they might hear some of the things about the margin, because again, they're probably only thinking about the consoles that don't make money, in fact, probably lose money, and then the software that's where the margins are. But I don't know how much of that goes back to the software company, but so they might have their concerns in their mind. What's kind of the pitch to help them get over that hump of realizing that there is an opportunity here?
Well, and the margins in console gaming it's tight, and a lot of the bigger partners do very well at it. Obviously, they have found a way to stay at that, but as we identified gaming, PC gaming is definitely a strong area where our partners and your retailers can make more money, but also the experience of selling gaming. You don't just and I gave this advice to all my partners who are selling consoles. I said, if you just sell a console, you're not going to be profitable. You have to sell an entire experience. You have to get your customer to buy the entire experience. If you were going into a house and you were setting up, someone wanted you to do a custom installation of a gaming room for them, all the things I had mentioned before, it starts at the desktop. And you want to do a desktop because that allows them to get that cool RGB look and upgrade it. But then you get the monitor, you get the chair, you get the furniture, you get the ambient lighting, you get the quality sound speakers or sound equipment. I often let the keyboards and mice, that's up to the individual user, left hand, right hand. You don't know that. But then there's also, someone told me, and it's true, there's the internet connection. You're going into this home, so you're going to do a lot for them, to the experts. It's making sure they have gaming routers or powerful routers or Orbi set up to extend the range of it. If you want to cross blend it into a home entertainment room with the drop down projectors or even high end monitors made by some of these people, Corsair, Samsung, LG makes some wonderful monitors, bending flex monitors, dual
Yeah.
purpose. So there is margin in there. And then on top of it, it's what they add as an individual, making all these come together. There is a price, and there's a good reason why this individual adds their value because again, I'm 50. I have my big boy job. And at the end of the day, when I want to unwind, I want to relax. I don't want to have to build all that. I want to be able to sit in my chair, push the play, and go. And if someone can provide that solution for me, I'm a happier man.
Well, what I love about the way you just described that is it doesn't sound too different from any conversation they're probably already having around, going into a home and doing these things. They're going to have to, if they're take an entertainment room, if they're putting in a home theater, say, because I mean that seems to be the standard for what a custom installer does, right? They're going in, they're putting in seating, they're putting in probably lighting. I mean, they're going to have to re-network the house to some extent, whether that's for audio speakers that are in the walls, or upgrading for better connectivity in that room because they're going to have a media server. There's a lot of those things that you mentioned that they're already doing. So this is like an add-on conversation, just kind of understanding like, hey, whether it's a pitch or you realize you walk into their house and maybe you see a console lying around, and it's maybe a PS3 and you want to give them that opportunity to upgrade to, the latest and greatest, but it's not too dissimilar from what you're already doing.
Yeah, and you know what? There's the phrase "read the room," and you're going into their house, so you get a better chance to read the room and read the person you're selling to. They say, "I want to build this, home theater cave," and they see NASCAR stuff up all over the place. You ask like, "Hey, do you like doing racing simulators and that?" And it's like, "Yeah, I actually do that." And boom, all of a sudden, next thing you know, do you ever think about getting a PC and getting racing wheels and the racing pedals and the full solution? And now you're not, you went in there to sell them a home theater and you just created a racing sim station for them. And the add-ons again are the furniture. Do you stow it? Is it alive? Is it there? Um, there's a lot of untapped potential, and I know quite a few people that are racing sim fanatics. Not my soup of choice, but it's and flight.
Right. Yeah.
I should mention that like there's a game that Microsoft's called Flight. You know what you do? You fly a plane in real time, and people love that. They will
Yeah.
take 8 hours and fly the plane from LAX to London, and
That's crazy.
they love it. And I actually did it, and I was like, it was really cool. I crashed my plane into the Harrisburg International Airport,
Oh
so
no.
we'll stick to gaming.
Thankfully it was virtual, and that's
Yes,
why
thankfully.
it's set up that way. So, no. But you mentioned
So
the simulator. Like I think back to the pandemic, and if I recall, I mean, when NASCAR was shut down for a time, right? Those drivers to stay sharp, and even now, I think a popular name if you're familiar with the racing industry, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. being a big gamer. I'm pretty sure that there are multiple racers out there that have these simulators set up. So you can't waste gas, waste tires trying to run around a track for practice laps. Hop into your simulator and do the same thing. And they have these professional rigs set up so that they can test these tracks out before they even get on one of their buses, their tour buses, and end up down at Pocono Raceway or whatever, so that they can practice that tricky triangle and figure it out. Right. So I mean that it's just cool.
th-
It's a unique space.
there is a peer of mine who is over 50, and you shall go unnamed, but they work for D&H, and they are fanatic
Yeah.
of NASCAR racing simulators.
That's awesome.
So
Well, him and I may have to talk. So, no, that's great. Well, I want to close. You kind of mentioned a few of those opportunities, and these simulators obviously being one. But is there any area that you think maybe it is the big opportunity, or where even you might still see some untapped potential, in this industry for retailers or custom installers out there?
I would offer gaming in any and every consultation I have, because it is so basic. You read your customer, start here. You see their, well, it's an Xbox sale. You go there. If it's a higher or more into gaming, I would go desktop and I would evolve it. It should be thrown in because with every consultation and every offering, because it is so mainstream. It is every day, and the integration of when you're doing this, you're hooking up the smart TV to the internet and all the stuff where you're hooking up the sound. Why not have the gaming consoles now They replaced remember the old Comcast box?
Yeah.
They now do that. They're a media center too.
Hmm.
So is the computer. They're multi-purpose. They're very powerful. So it should be a part of it. Start with the seed of the gaming console or desktop, and then span it from there. That's where you start, and those are the questions and I'd start looking at some of the ones that the partners out there that can do custom builds and define them for that customer, and are very flexible and very willing to work. And then start building the experience. From that, it'll all start waterfalling. The monitor, the networking, the power protection, and
Yep.
the surge, the ambient lighting, and the furnitures.
Yeah.
So it's pretty. It'll go boom, 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 one thing after the other.
Kind of like a big domino effect. I love it. No, it's cool. Like I said, a really unique topic. It shouldn't be unique. It should be so commonplace, and I think we'll start to see. I believe retailers realize that as well. So, appreciate you taking the time and diving into it with us, Chad. Really
This
cool
was a lot of
conversation.
fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Should do more of it. Maybe next time. I already offered it to NKBA that I'd pop by their Bethlehem office. I'll take a John out to Harrisburg here, Hershey, pick up some chocolate and some of that phenomenal corn. I know big cornfields out there. Some
We're
great, some
building
of the best
we're
corn.
building an esports lab, so we'll
There
let
we
you
go.
walk that.
There we go. I love it. No, this was great. So we appreciate it and look forward to doing it again soon.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
All right, and thanks again to Chad. From the Nintendo Bowser jokes all the way through to just sharing some incredible insights on this space in the gaming category. Really appreciate him. I had a lot of fun diving into it. Just a great topic that I think that, like we said throughout, there is massive potential in this space, and hope to see more gaming pitches and gaming product of all shapes and sizes pop up in retailer stores. So. Appreciate him, and as always, appreciate you listening to the Independent Thinking Podcast, and we'll catch you next time.